All right, welcome back to From Arbitration. I've got a treat for y'all today. I've got a special guest who's in the house. I have to question his mental state because it's JB, and he wanted to come on and talk about the 6 day counts. And so I have to worry about an individual who is volunteering his time to talk about 6 day counts. So JB, I'm looking at you, brother. I have to wonder about you. I worry about that.
But no need to worry. No need to worry at all.
But he said, "Hey man, you've been doing Boston, and last week he's going to give me a break." Now it's a proud papa moment. I have to say that I did shed a tear. I didn't want him to see that, but he got here a little early, and he's going to edit it and put it up himself. And so, and since you're going to do that, JB, I've got something to tell you. Did you know that we were going to do another podcast?
I do now. I did
Okay. Well, we're going to get back to the educational part. JB and I are going to be doing a podcast for the CLC up on their website, and it's going to be strictly educational. It will not be anything other than that. Strictly educational. Now, I'll keep doing From Arbitration. I'll keep doing education on this as well, but I'll continue to hold both sides accountable. We're not going to stop doing that because we're in dire straits. So the CLC has asked us, and we've agreed to do an educational podcast for the CLC, and that will be starting soon. So JB, I appreciate you volunteering for that. And so we will definitely be doing a podcast for the CLC, solely educational, and I'm talking about from the very beginning, the 8190, new stewards. It's going to be for you, some in-depth education like we used to do. And so I know a lot of people are concerned about From Arbitration. It started out great with education, and we got sidetracked. Well, it's going to get back to education, all right? So this episode, JB's going to take over, and he's going to do the 6 day count. I've got some things I'm going to talk about before then, and then I'm going to hand it over to him. He's going to edit it and put it up himself, and that way when he's at his house, he can start doing that for the CLC and just kind of showing him the basics. Next Sunday, the Wolf, James Henry, will be on, and he's going to answer all your questions. Now, we'll have to have several episodes of that because I think we're up to like 200 questions. And so it will have to be just like with Mr. Cariff and Mr. Noble. It's going to have to be several episodes of that. But he will be on next Sunday. He's going to answer questions, all right? And then there's a lot of other stuff. Let's see here. We've got Mr. Tyler Vassar next Sunday, all right? And y'all know how I feel about that guy. I'm going to call him, his new name will be the Beast of Boston. How's that sound? Tyler Vassar, the Beast of Boston. Their Zoom is next Sunday, the 25th. So I'll put a link up on that. Be at noon Central Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And so Tyler Vassar's Build a Fighting NELC Zoom meeting will be next Sunday. Make sure y'all get on there, all right? They were doing something special at the convention. And I talked about this. If y'all heard me talking to the Anger Mailman, I also talked about it. But I just highly impressed with what I saw and heard from him and those individuals that got up to the mic to represent their case. I thought they did a fantastic job. And him especially, looking in the face of that, of all those business agents that were given their marching orders to come down, because they're the executive council, right? We're trying to overturn what they did. And so his thing fell short. But like I've always said, and I'll always say this, give me somebody who'll fight. You give me somebody who will fight for the city letter care, win or lose, I'll follow that individual. All I want to see is fight. We don't have that in our union. And the only thing they will fight for is themselves and that executive council, and they showed that at convention. The only thing they're going to fight for is themselves. They're not going to fight for the city letter carrier. But Tyler Vassar was absolutely fantastic up at that mic, just seeing him standing in the face of that fighting. And man, I was highly impressed and came out of there more impressed than I was when I went in, and that was hard to do because, the kid is impressive. So I fully support that movement. And I think that people see now how we need that movement more than ever, going on day 400 and whatever, going on day 455 of this contract negotiation. and not a peep about anything. It's still 2 hours away or hours away, 2 weeks away, whatever. So that's next Sunday. So we have Mr. James Henry next Sunday. He's going to be on answering questions for 3 hours, right? That's as far as I can go. We'll have him back on. And so Mr. Tyler Vassar next Sunday. Also next Sunday. Next Sunday's going to be a busy day. August 25th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., NALC Branch 2200, Pasadena, California, will be at the Central Park 275 South Raymond Avenue, Pasadena, California, 91105. Please join your fellow brothers and sisters to bring public awareness to city carrier issues regarding better pay, crimes against letter carriers, harassment by postal management, a fair contract today, and an end to mandatory overtime. We'll be having special guests, including Vice President James Henry and Congresswoman Judy Chu from California District 28. So August 25th, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., NALC Branch 2200, Pasadena, California, will be at Central Park 275 South Raymond Avenue, Pasadena, California, 91105. And so y'all make sure if y'all around there, get out there and help support that. You know, I've always said we need to get in the street. There's those. Got some more shout outs. All right, so we're going to do some shout outs. Those are still coming in. So as long as they're coming in, I'll do them. All right. So we got one. Give a shout out to Dion Bass, Union Steward of the Year this year, repping one of the toughest stations in Chicago. Daniel Dauphine, 60618. We love you, Bass, and pray you run for re-election. Chicago ain't no punk bitches. So I like that. So Dion Bass, there's your good shout out right there, brother. Union Steward of the Year. I'll take that. I like that. Give a shout out to Seymour, Indiana Branch 789, and especially our new steward, Peyton Miskell. Miskell. Y'all know I suck at names. So Peyton Miskell, there's your shout out. Seymour, Indiana Branch 789. Give a shout out to Branch 1402, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, right down the street from me. So Branch 1402, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, listening to the podcast, I appreciate you. Give a shout out to Branch 385. Keep up the great work and never quit fighting for what is right. Don't base your decisions on the advice of those who don't have to deal with the results. Youngstown, Ohio, West Side Union Steward Bill Braun. He will never back down from the enemy. He will never side with management. He will never be intimidated by management and will continue to fight for Branch 385. Bill has all your backs. There's your another one. They're giving Bill a shout out. Sounds like dude's a complete monster, and I love that. Somebody wants to give a shout out to Mike Rainey from Bucksmont 920. A shout out on your upcoming podcast. There you go. Keep kicking ass. And so Mike Rainey, or Ranny, Ranny, Mike Ranny from Bucksmont 920. There's you. Somebody send you some love, brother. Here's a go. Can you please give a shout out to my president, my brother, my friend, John fucking Cruz, Branch 41 Merge, Brooklyn and Staten Island. Let's not forget Jeremy Nieves, Jonathan Rodriguez, Hector Narvaez, Paul Marks, Paul Cobb, Thomas Mastrella, and the entire Branch 41 Merge. In unionism, Mr. Richie Ray. And that's my guy. So he's going to give all his people some love, especially John fucking Cruz, who is a damn beast. I'll give him that. So there's y'all some more shout outs. Going to go over a few more things. JB's out there in the wait. He's looking at me. Hang on, brother. I've never seen anybody so interested in doing a 6-day count episode. I worry about the man's mental state. Nobody wants to do a 6-day count episode. So, had a few more things come out, and these are other failures, unfortunately, from our business agents. Some things that have come to me. This person sent me this screenshot, and management is now putting at carriers' cases things talking about their stationary time and wanting them to explain that. Shop stewards on any floor, on any workroom floor, if management are putting anything at the carrier's cases asking them to explain themselves, grieve that as a locally generated form. Have your carriers do not fill that out. that we are not going to do an investigative interview without a manager present and a shop steward present. And that's what you're doing. If you're answering a questionnaire that's left at your case, you're being given an investigative interview without either party present. So let's not do that. Let's grieve that as a locally generated form. But it has here the route ID, the employee, the start time of the stationary event, the end time of the stationary event, the duration of it. And then at the bottom, they have questions, answering each one. Shop stewards, listen to me. Grieve that as a locally generated form and have those disposed of. Your carriers can throw them in the trash if you want. Get you a couple of them and grieve those as locally generated forms. Tell your carriers, do not fill that out. Do not. All right? We're not going to be giving an investigative interview at the case. Another thing that's coming up, and here's, again, this is the failure of our business agents, right? Because, unfortunately, they're so worried about protecting this cat at the top, they forgot about protecting the carriers on the floor. And these things should have been disseminated already, should have been educated. The carriers should have been educated on this. The shop steward should have been educated on this. All these things that are coming down, but we're so worried about protecting this cat at the top, we have failed at our job of educating the city letter carrier. So this person sends me this. We're now being instructed at my office that we only have 10 minutes or 20 to case and we should be out on the street. Most of the time, the parcels are not even done being thrown. Management is instructing us that their papers say we have low volume, so we should be out of the office in 20 minutes or less most of the time. Our route information sheets are laminated, and sometimes they'll even go around with a whiteboard marker and write what time we need to be out of the office on the route sheets. I talked to my chief steward, and he's telling me that we should grieve it if someone gets disciplined. I don't want to wait for someone to get disciplined and would like to stop this dead in its tracks. All of that is a grievance. Unfortunately, you have our business agents like mine who say on the stationary events, we're not going to do anything to them until they give us discipline. It's not about the discipline. I think I said that a few episodes ago. It's not about the discipline. It's about the harassment that goes with it. Here you have them completely taking out the 33 minutes and 43 minutes of fixed office time. Those things are going by the wayside. Management is doing such a good job of bullying these carriers at these stations where no involvement but with the union. No involvement whatsoever with the union. That they're able to get these stations to agree that there's only 20 minutes case time they need to be on the street. 10 minutes of case time they need to be on the street. They are winning. They are beating us. Because you have people that, like the chief steward, who I'm sure probably does a great job, is telling them, well, we can't do anything unless there's discipline. Well, a lot of times there won't be discipline because the carriers are doing it. Because they're what? Scared of discipline. So they're winning because we're not filing grievances against the whiteboard. That's a very easy win. We had an episode on that. Against them coming around saying their papers say, what papers say? Pet and DOAS, right? That's what the papers are. We've done episodes on those. So grieve all of those things. They are stealing from us and they are lying to us, right? You have to grieve those things. We have 33 minutes of fixed office time. Even in the expired memos, it talks about fixed office time. There's nothing showing that fixed office time has been done away with. Okay? Make sure you're grieving all of these things when you put in requests. Ask what they're looking at when they're showing 10 minutes of office time. That's such a simple win. It's such an easy win to grieve those things. But here we are, we have stewards saying they can do it just as long as we don't get disciplined. That's the problem. That's the problem. Is sometimes the stations won't get disciplined, like I said, because the carriers are going to do it. They're going to bend over backwards to do it. And so therefore there'll be no discipline, and management has won. They've beaten us. Make sure you're grieving those things. It's a new thing across the country per CRDO. In a telecom today, is new office is 32 minutes. Since there's no mail at all anywhere. So 32 minutes total time, case time, everything. So again, they're trying to do away with the 33 minutes of fixed office time. Those things will come into effect once the 6-day counts come in. And we'll talk about all those things. I don't know what JB's talking about today, but he'll talk about 6-day count next week. What I'm going to do is, I said that Mr. Henry's going to be on Sunday. Monday, I will do an episode on those sites that I'm going to give to y'all. I'm going to talk about pros and cons so we can kind of go from the ending to the beginning, what we're going to be looking for, okay? But the 33 minutes of fixed office time will be in the 6-day count. We get that 33 minutes of fixed office time. What they're doing is, when we talk about they're conditioning us, this is them conditioning us, and they will continue to do that as long as we have business agents that are more worried about protecting our president than they are about protecting the city letter carrier. They're not educating us on this floor. They're so worried about circling themselves around this son of a bitch at the top that they're not educating us. The 6-day counts are coming. We're not being educated by our stewards. There's no training going on. I think that they did have some 6-day training at the National Convention. But they're conditioning us, and they've been doing it for quite some time. And unfortunately, there is no pushback whatsoever from us. There's no pushback. 32 minutes of office time total. That's taking out the 33 minutes of fixed office time, 43 minutes of fixed office time. They're saying that total office time now is 32 minutes. That's everything included. This person's saying there's 10 minutes you need to be on the street, 20 minutes you need to be on the street. And there are stations that will do that, and management will win because there's nothing coming back from us. Here's another shout out. I forgot it, and I'm sorry. I'd like to give a shout out to Alan Gigax. Me too. Do something else. Our alternate steward out of East Las Vegas, branch 2502. Thank you for always fighting for us, even without the support or recognition of our branch's administration. We truly appreciate all your hard work and dedication. And so I'm sorry I got late to that one, but I just saw it. But Alan Gigax, who does a podcast, and dude is exceptional. He does a fantastic job educating his people. Now here's another one. I thought I'd gotten all of them. I apologize. I'd like to give a shout out to my brothers and sisters in Rochester, Minnesota, branch 440. Thank you. Absolutely. So Rochester, Minnesota, branch 440. There's another shout out. For some reason, I got these all up front. All right. Make sure I've got another thing I want to talk about. A few things I want to talk about, and then I'll get JB in here. But make sure you're getting on Reddit and Discord. All right. Those things are jumping right now, and they're growing like crazy. So make sure you get on Reddit and Discord. If you go to from8arbitration.com, you can get on Reddit and Discord. It'll give you some links to them. So get on there. We're going to start doing some more social media stuff, TikTok and things like that. We're getting all that in the works. Again, JB and I are going to be doing the podcast for the CLC, strictly educational for those that are turned off by my rants. A lot of people are. A lot of people hate them. They're tired of the rants. But I'll keep doing that as long as my union is in disarray, okay? If it's 2 more years, it's just 2 more years of it. I hate where my union is at right now, and I'm going to do everything I humanly can to make sure that we're putting people in place that will fight for the city letter carrier again, and we don't have all these questions coming up about office times, about PM office times, about load times, and things like that. We'll have people in place that will crush those things immediately, because they're going to get back to putting the city letter carrier first. I will not stop until that happens. I love the city letter carrier too damn much. I just do. And I will not stop until that happens. And I will not be stopped until that happens. But for those of y'all who want to get right back into education, you've got some other podcasts out there, like I said, with Mr. Alan Gigax. He's one of them, does a fantastic job. We're going to get back to the basics on education. And JB and I are going to do that for the CLC podcast. So new stewards will be very helpful to you. I'm going to get back into, like when we was doing the just cause principles, breaking those down, discipline, breaking that down, Article 8, things like that. We'll get back into that because that's my passion, really, is education. I'd much rather be doing that than getting on here going off. But from 8 Arbitration, we're still going to keep doing things like these people that send me screenshots to let y'all know across the country what's going on, so that maybe y'all can get ahead of the curve, right? When people say that this is happening over here in California, so those of y'all in New York will know what's coming, or Florida or whatever. And so I do think that that's helpful. It's not so much educational as far as contract-wise, but I do believe it lets everyone know, hey, here's what we're doing. over here, get ready for it over here on this other side, because we're all city letter carriers. We're all the same family. We're all light blue, okay? And so I'm going to keep doing that. I'll keep ranting. For those of y'all who do like that, I'll keep ranting. But there's also a new Facebook page. It's from 8 Arbitration Community, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. And that was started by Miss Mallory Sutton. Y'all know that she was the one who helps with the From 8 Arbitration Facebook page. She's heavy on Discord. But she started it From 8 Arbitration Community. So if you get on from Facebook and you look up From 8 Arbitration Community, you'll see that. And get on there. They talk contract stuff, okay, all the time. Now, there's some things that goes on beside that, but they talk good contract stuff. So if you want to get on there, get on From 8 Arbitration Community, which is pretty neat, man. I appreciate that young lady. She does a fantastic job. Mr. Gary Lang. Now, those of y'all who were at the convention, remember he came up and he called out Renfro in the MOU where Renfro signed, saying that the gaining installation, the gaining branch, would be the ones that would be recognized. Their LMOU would be recognized as the gaining branch. And Renfro changed that verbiage on him. He just arbitrarily changed it. He went against his own signature. And at the end of the day, like I said, our name's all we've got. If we lose our name, if we lose our integrity, that's all we've got. And so Renfro, unfortunately, chose to go against his own signature on that MOU. And so Gary Lang was the one who got up and challenged him on that, and Renfro couldn't answer it. Basically, he was saying, well, the post office tells us what we're going to do. And a lot of people took offense to that because the post office don't tell us anything. As the union, we do the telling. And so Renfro, he got cornered and didn't know how to deal with Gary Lang. And so if y'all are wanting some advice, a lot of people are reaching out to Gary Lang about that. And he said he's getting a lot of people that are reaching out about that MOU, kind of similar things going on, how he dealt with it, how he's going to deal with it. And so here's his information, and he wanted me to give this to y'all. So get a pen and paper if y'all are dealing with this MOUs or the gaining installation, Renfro going against his own word, and letting another installation other than the gaining installation have their MOU acknowledged. And that's strictly for votes. That's a strictly political position he took against his own people. And that's tragic. And that was what Gary Lang was calling him out on. But here's his information. Get a pen and paper. Gary Lang, Garylange, President, Garden State Merged Branch 444, New Jersey. Here's his cell phone number, 732-771-6691. Email, it's GaryNALC444@gmail.com. It's GaryNALC444@gmail.com. He's been given full reign to speak to any branch, okay, by his members about what went on, because that was tragic what happened to him. He got the old shaftola from our own president. I want to talk about this, a few more things, and I'm going to let JB come in here and have it. A lot of stuff going on this past week with this letter that came down from NAPS about the individual who passed away in the back of the vehicle. They were in the restroom, I believe, but they had been in the back of the vehicle all day, and they passed away. And if y'all remember, I talked about it on one of my episodes, how tragic that was, and foolish that this individual was allowed to sit in the back of that vehicle, probably reaching 130 degrees for 6 hours. It's negligent at best. And I said that the individual's family should subpoena those emails and find out who it was that instructed her to sit in that vehicle, because it was somebody in an air-conditioned office, probably in another district, probably an area person, saying, hey, get out there and watch these carriers, because we have to beat them out of every second we can. We have to intimidate them out of every second we can. Let's get them out of the office. Send out these scanner messages. Keep it moving. Beat the heat. We need to keep beating them. Keep beating on them, right? And so that's what happens when they're doing 39.99s in the summer, because you can't use that data against me from June, July, and August. So some fool has told this individual to sit in the back of that vehicle and do a 39.99 ride. I think her family should subpoena those emails, see who it is, and press charges on them and sue the ever-loving hell out of them. And that's what I said. NAPS comes out with this letter. And a lot of y'all have seen it because it was going out over social media like crazy. It says, Mr. Bruce Nicholson, Director of Labor Relations Policies and Programs. Now, I don't know why it was sent to Bruce Nicholson, Director of Labor Relations Policies and Programs of Washington, D.C., which makes me believe that Bruce Nicholson, Director of Labor Relations Policies and Programs, may have something to do with management sitting in the back of our vehicles, because it should have been directed to Louis DeJoy, I guess. It says July 13th, 2024, Mr. Bruce Nicholson, Director of Labor Relations Policies and Programs, United States Postal Service at L'Enfant Plaza, okay? It says, Bruce, as this massive heat dome moves across the United States, NAPS is getting increasing calls from the field concerning EAS being required to ride in the back of LLVs without any air conditioning. The core of the massive heat dome, responsible for multiple all-time record highs in California and Nevada, are slowly shifting eastward. Record highs were tied or broken at more than 50 locations in California and Nevada in July. NAPS has expressed our concerns for EAS being made to work in this type of environment as an unsafe condition and practice being employed by the agency impacted the lives of our members in years past. We just learned of the passing of one of our members in Fayetteville, North Carolina. NAPS noted that this notification came from news stories shared with us from the field and not from any notification from the agency. NAPS requests that with this especially hazardous situation due to this heat dome, that all USPS activities that would place EAS in hazardous, unsafe conditions be suspended. NAPS contends that to continue requiring EAS to place their lives in danger is a hazardous and unsafe work practice. Sincerely, Ivan Butts, National President. So there you have NAPS coming out saying, hey, look here, it's deadly. It's deadly to us. What the carriers have always been saying, that those vehicles are deadly, they're deadly. We've now lost one of our own supervisor, right? So they're going to come out and say, hey, all of that should be suspended riding in the back of those vehicles. We've been preaching for a long time about how deadly these vehicles are. And it is the supervisors that were sending out scanner messages saying to keep it moving to beat the heat. It is management, supervisors are sending out these reckless scanner messages talking about you've been sitting somewhere for 2 minutes, keep it moving. You've been sitting somewhere for 1 minute over your lunch, keep moving. They keep pushing us to be unsafe. They're pushing us to be unsafe, and now one of their own has passed away. God forbid. One of their own has passed away, and now what do they say? Hey, suspend all of that, making us sit in the back of those vehicles. We can push the carriers to death, but one of our own has passed away, right? One of our own has passed away. We need to suspend all of that. Maybe common sense should come back into the Postal Service, and the numbers shouldn't be the most important thing, the top priority. Maybe human life should come back into the forefront of the Postal Service. Maybe we wouldn't see this anymore. To put human life in front of your numbers. These individuals have lost their lives because of the numbers. Mr. Gates lost his life because of the numbers. This supervisor lost her life because of the numbers, because there's no excuse for them to be back in that vehicle in the summer. You're going to attain nothing. You can't use the data used against me in June, July, and August. There was a newspaper article that came out, and I don't know if y'all saw it or not. It was put up on social media all over the place, and it says, turn the AC off and drive them out. USPS says to force workers into the heat. And this is a very good article that was written about management and how they treat us in the heat. Talks about the falsification of the HIP training. Talks about the emails that were all over social media, turn the AC off and drive them out. Also talks about the one who says that if we get our throats ripped out, oh well, who cares? Or if we die on the street, oh well, who cares? It's these type of things when I continue to say, get into the street and make the public aware of our working conditions. Get in the street because the public needs to know. The benefit of of getting in the street, making people aware. That's what's happening here with this newspaper article. More and more will be coming out where they're saying, hey, this is how the city letter carrier is being treated, the most trusted federal government agency that there is. This is how your letter carrier is being treated, public. Make them aware of our working conditions. I've been saying that since Mr. Gates passed away. We should have been immediately in the street talking about the working conditions, but we were not. Unfortunately, they talk about two members of the union who stood up. One was Mr. Eddie Davidson, business agent of Region 9, who talked to them and stood up. The other one was me. She talks about me, and I don't know if y'all remember when she said, when I asked y'all to send me if y'all's hip was still being falsified. And so I sent them to her. She talked about that. It's still being falsified. The one person who was not in the article was our president. And that is a crying shame. It's a travesty that our president would not talk to this newspaper. And she told me that she attempted to talk to them and they refused. That's what she said. She's like pulling her hair out, trying to get them to talk. Now imagine that. Here's one of the greatest things that we deal with. The deadliest thing that we deal with is the heat. And second would be the dogs, right? The single greatest thing, the single greatest threat to the city letter carriers is heat. Well, now you have robberies and murders out now, is heat. Eddie Davidson is in this article. Me as a podcaster is in this article. Nothing from our leadership. Nothing from our president. What is it going to take to get this guy interested in the city letter carrier? What will it take? Here's what management said in this article. And I want you to think about this, what management's reasoning. This is what she talks about when it talks about the falsification of the HIP training. And this is management's response. She said, an E&E News investigation in December found that the Postal Service was facing thousands of allegations that it had falsified safety records to show erroneously that letter carriers had been trained to recognize and treat symptoms of heat illness when they hadn't received training. After the article was published, listen here now, after the article was published, USPS admitted that in a few instances, proper procedures were not followed. That's what management said. In a few instances, proper procedures were not followed. In a few instances, right? I want you to listen now. Listen to this letter that I'm fixing to read to you. Listen to the OIG and remember your president. This is management when they're confronted. In a few instances, proper procedures were not followed. Here's the OIG. The OIG says, to protect the carriers during extreme hot and cold temperatures, we determined the Postal Service provided more supplies to its carriers compared to the other agencies and mailing companies. However, while we did not find any issues with the cold weather training, we found opportunities exist for the Postal Service to improve the heat program. Specifically, we found heat program training was not always certified or presented correctly in group settings. Did y'all hear me? This is the OIG. You heard what the Postal Service said over another thing. Here's the OIG. Postal Service to improve the heat. Specifically, we found heat program training was not always certified or presented correctly in group settings. So they're dismissive. Your president said that the union found some discrepancies. That's the president of this union. People dying. The single greatest threat to the city letter carrier is heat. Management intensely falsified that training. We have taken the position of management when we say there are some discrepancies. The two things I read to you is what one of management's representatives told that newspaper. The OIG and your president, we see that there are some discrepancies. What has happened? What has happened here? Where the president of the greatest union on this planet refuses to stand up for the city letter carrier, and he takes on the position of the Postal Service and the OIG. What has happened? There are some discrepancies. That is a management position. Now, I did hear that Mr. Barner said at the National Convention in their training that he did finally say that it was falsified and to attack that at the lower levels. So I give him that. I'm going to read this thing to you, and then I'll be done. I'll let JB, I think, is falling asleep out there. I told him it'd just be a second. I think he's asleep on my couch. So hang on. Hang on. I'm going to read this to you. Now listen to this. It's from the Congress of the United States. Now you got the Postal Service saying what they said. I read what they said. You got the OIG saying what they said. You got our president saying that there's some discrepancies, refuses to hold management accountable. On the other hand, you have Mr. Eddie Davidson talking about the falsification. You've got some podcaster, Corey, talking about the massive falsification of this training. Here's Congress. Dear Postmaster General DeJoy, as summer temperatures across the United States continue to break record highs, many of the letter carriers of the United States Postal Service are in imminent risk of heat-related illness and death. To ensure that they are adequately protected while they carry out their duties, we strongly urge you to immediately implement the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's OSHA's Heat Injury and Illness Prevention in Outdoor and Indoor Work Settings proposed rule. While this rule is not yet final, OSHA has already taken extensive public comment since their advance notice of proposed rulemaking in October of 2021. They have conducted substantial economic and logistical analysis to ensure that all industry under OSHA's jurisdictions are able to comply with this rule without significant disruption to their operations, and actively implementing this rule would save lives by ensuring that your workforce is protected with the most up-to-date heat safety standards. We recognize that the Postal Service currently has a Heat Illness Prevention Plan, HIP. The HIP requires postal employees to take an annual training that includes standards such as teaching employees to recognize symptoms of heat stress, identifying when to call 911, and providing drinking water at all stations. However, letter carriers have still reported systemic heat illness issues even with the HIP in place. On June of this year, a Postal Service worker in North Carolina died shortly after a shift working in an unair-conditioned vehicle in 95-degree heat. Last summer, a letter carrier in Texas, talking about my brother, Mr. Gates, died from the heat stroke after working in a heat index of 115 degrees. This letter carrier did not receive his mandatory HIP training, and managers falsified records indicating that he had. The falsification of HIP training records by managers appears to be systemic, as last year there were allegations of falsified training records across at least 10 states, including 2,000 false records in Chicago, Illinois alone. Now I'm going to read that again. I'm going to read this again. We recognize that the Postal Service currently has a Heat Illness Prevention Plan, HIP. The HIP requires postal employees to take an annual training that includes standards such as teach employees to recognize symptoms of heat stress, identifying when to call 911, and providing drinking water at all stations. Did you hear what Congress said? The HIP requires postal employees. The HIP requires postal employees. That's Congress. That's Congress. Let me read this to you again, something I read the other day. From James Lloyd. Now this is when I talk about the power of you. I say that all the time. Don't ever underestimate the power of you. The city letter carry y'all's voices. What you've done is you made labor change course in their HIP training. Congress has caught them. It's on record right now. You can put that in every one of your case files where they say that it's falsified, that it's been falsified. They're doing our job for us because we did not do like I said we should have done, gone nationwide, send me all the data showing how much of this country had been falsified. We didn't do that. Congress is doing that for us, which is an embarrassment. We appreciate it. Trust me. I appreciate anything they can do for us to bring awareness to the situation of our city letter carrier. They're doing our job for us, but the power of you filed so many grievances. There's been such a rigmarole about this, such a hubbub about this. You made them change course about their own training. And this is what I read the other day. It's from James Lloyd, and I'm going to read it in part. After reviewing this matter, it's talking about the interpretive step. It is determined a national interpretive issue is not presented in this case since the training is not a contractual requirement. The Postal Service unilaterally developed several communications such as safety talks, stand-up talks, screensavers, electronic messaging, and the HERO course referenced above to inform employees of the Heat Illness Prevention Program, HIP. the development and administration of, that's the most important part, administration of, that's where they're going to give it to us. The development and administration of this training is at the sole discretion of management and was not collectively bargained for and therefore does not fall under contract compliance. That's what y'all did. You've got a congressional letter now saying that it is a requirement. You've got the Postal Service changing course. They're running from you, the city letter carrier. That's what this is. They're running from us, saying that is the development and administration of this training is at the sole discretion of management, is no longer a requirement. I bet Congress begs to differ. Did you see the letter that came out after that? Did y'all see that one? If y'all haven't seen it, it came out August 8th. It says, in January 2024, the Postal Service launched MyHR, a new human resources website that centralized all HR information and tools from Blue and Light Blue. In our continued efforts to further streamline MyHR as a single location for all HR-related information, effective August 27th, 2024, Hero will be retired. They're running from you, city letter carriers. They're not running from your union. They're not running from your union because we have a president that says that there's some discrepancies, right? They are running from the city letter carrier. Why? Because y'all have finally understood the power of you. And that's a beautiful thing, baby, to see it happen in real time. You've got them changing the requirement to saying it's at the sole discretion of management. They're doing away with Hero, which is where they put this Hero training, this HIP training, right? They are running from you. That is the power of you. I'm going to get back on to this email, and then I'm going to go wake up JB. OSHA inspections have also found that while the HIP directs supervisors to encourage breaks during high temperatures, supervisors often also chastise letter carriers who slow down on their route. Additionally, after members of Congress sent you a letter regarding providing bottled water for letter carriers so that they may more easily bring as much as they need to stay hydrated on their routes, the Postal Service responded with a letter that referenced the HIP standards and failed to address the concerns raised. It is clear that the Postal Service must do more to protect the health and safety of its workforce. Yet, in a statement sent on July 26, the Postal Service declined to incorporate any of the standards in the OSHA proposed rule, stating, the rulemaking process will likely result in significant changes to the proposed rule prior to its finalization. As such, implementing or planning to implement any provisions of the proposed rule would be premature. While the Postal Service is not yet required to implement the proposed rule, nothing stops you from improving on the Postal Service's current policies to address failings and protect workers. OSHA will evaluate all public comments in its rulemaking process and consider changes to the proposed rule, but has made no indication that the rule will be substantially changed thus far. Postal delivery is among the most dangerous industries for heat-related illness, and is so the Postal Service should be proactively expanding its worker protection using guidance from experts such as those at OSHA, instead of waiting to be required by law to make common-sense improvements that could save your workers' lives. Given the current risk to your employees, the Postal Service justification for declining to implement the OSHA standards is insufficient. Extreme heat is a significant cause of death in the workplace. In 2022, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported 43 deaths in the workplace due to extreme heat. Yet this is likely a significant undercount, as high temperatures can trigger underlying illnesses and are often not listed as a cause of death. Extreme heat also leads to more workplace injuries. Research shows that when temperatures are above 85 degrees and 90 degrees, workplace injuries are 5% to 7% more likely to occur. Public citizens estimate that nationally, occupational heat stress leads to 170,000 illnesses and injuries per year. High temperatures also reduce productivity. Research shows that across industries, productivity goes down by approximately 25% at 90 degrees Fahrenheit and down by approximately 70% at 100 degrees. Only with more robust heat, protection save the lives of letter carriers and improve safety, but it can increase overall productivity, making the Postal Service more efficient and improving service to our constituents. And I'm not going to read the rest of it, but they're going after the Postal Service. Said, hey, if you want to improve your numbers, Treat your carriers better. Treat your carriers better. And so I thought that was interesting. I wanted to talk about that because we've made such a deal about it, about HIP, and you see where we're at now. Because of y'all. Because of y'all. What y'all have done. You've gotten Congress involved. Our union hasn't, because we got a president who refuses to say falsification. He says discrepancies. He's towing the line. He's carrying the water for management. You have this newspaper article. They're coming out about it. You've got Congress coming out about it. Hey, listen, we're going to win this. I promise you. We're going to make the public aware of our issues. I will not stop until we do. I promise you that. It will be at the forefront of From 8 Arbitration. It will be at the forefront of this podcast. Some things are more important than education, and that's our lives. I'm going to educate as much as I can. I'll continue to do so. JB's going to start today with a 6-day count, and we're going to continue on for another month or two on the 6-day counts, as boring as that may be. But we're going to keep fighting. We will keep fighting. Who is committed to the city letter carrier? Right? At the end of the day, who is committed to us? Our national leadership's not, because you have people that say things like discrepancies and inconveniences on some of the most critical things that are going on with us right now. So who's committed to us? This letter's a good start from Congress, right? The newspaper article's a good start. You got to start somewhere. When the world shut down because of COVID, and we were the ones that were out there every single day, the essential worker, who is committed to us? We were committed to the public. We were going to make sure that they saw us, they saw our face, because we were a sign of things of hope. Things are going to be okay. The city letter carriers here, things are going to be all right. When they're putting our letters out on the front porch because of COVID, the fear that could be attached to those letters, and letting those sit out there for a day to kill whatever. The city letter carrier had no idea what was going on. No idea. All of us were terrified. But here we were every single day, showing the public everything's going to be okay. There is hope. Who was committed to us during that time? Did you hear anything from anyone saying, hey, and it's not about money, but as essential workers, as the face of COVID, the city letter carrier coming in showing hope to people that were terrified, wouldn't come out of their house. And here we are every day going to the porch, going to the mailbox, waving at the kids, waving at the families. We're going to be okay. Who is committed to us? During this heat, who is committed to us? I thank Congress, those that did that letter. We need more of that. Who's committed to us? You've got a president who refuses to attack stationary events, which is killing us because people are scared to take breaks as needed in this heat. He says that there are some inconveniences being put on y'all. Who is committed to us? We're being robbed on the streets. I continue to hear these DAs talking about where we got things coming. We got things coming. I've got a president who will show up for a photo shoot on these rallies, right? But once the pictures are taken, what's being done? What's being done for the city letter carrier? Once the pictures have been taken, what's been done? We're still being robbed. Who is committed to us? We're being murdered on the streets. This beautiful lady from Chicago. Others. We're being murdered on these streets. Who is committed to us? We have dog safety awareness because we get mauled by dogs on the constant. We're being mauled by dogs. Who is committed to us? We're committed to the public, and all of these things we're committed to the public. Who is committed to us? We're out there in all kind of weather, right? Not just the heat. We're out there in all kind of weather. Yeah, walking route, you know what I'm talking about when some of those storms come through and try to blow you away. We're in some of the most severe weather right now that we've ever experienced, and who is committed to us? We're committed to the public. Who is committed to us? It's not your union. I couldn't even get a name in the paper of my president. He'll show up on a photo shoot, but he will not get involved behind the scenes. The letter that Congress wrote should have been a letter he wrote. talking about the systemic falsification of hip training. He won't even say it's falsified. He's saying there's some discrepancies. Who is committed to us? Listen to me. Listen to me, and I'm going to go wake JB up. We're committed to each other. We will be here for each other. We're a family, right? It's light blue. We will be committed to each other, and we will continue to raise awareness however we have to do it. All right? There will be a time when our voices will be heard. Or they're being heard now because of y'all, the power of you. We will be committed to each other. I promise you that. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. I love each and every one of you more than you know. I really do. And we're not going to stop until everybody knows about our plight, right? And about our fight. We've only just begun. We've only just begun. But let me go get JB. I will not be back on it. He came a little early so that he could learn how to edit. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of him out there. But and he's going to download it. It's going to give me the night off. So that's a beautiful thing. So 6-day count with JB next Sunday, Mr. Henry, right? Question and answer period for him is going to be about 3 hours. He'll have to come back several times. And then that Monday, I'll probably do an episode and read those sites to you. It'll be boring, but I need to get that out there because 6-day counts are happening. I need to get that started, okay, on those sites. All right? So here's JB. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you next Sunday. All right? Bye.
Well, all right, everybody. I'm back in the seat here from A to Arbitration, and couldn't be more excited. I want to thank you, Brother Walton, for allowing me to come out here and do this. Kind of hit him on a late notice, but when I heard about what we were going to be engaging in here, going into the 6-day counts, I wanted to take the opportunity to come out and try to help him with that and assist him to be able to get the information out to you listeners. But first, Boston. What about Boston, man? That was fantastic. I had an exceptional time out there with my branch, representing Branch 4, but not only that, just the amount of love and affection from each and everybody, the people that would come up and introduce themselves, getting an opportunity to put a face with a name, how exciting it was. Too many people come up and said, that voice, I recognized that voice, and I would just hang my head because I'm like, I hate my voice. I have tried and tried to speak with more clarity, to get rid of this twang, I guess you would call it, or drawl, but I've come to just embrace it. And I've come to realize, hey, it's what the good Lord gave me, and so it just is what it is. But I can't tell you, from the moment we even got to the airport to the moment we got back to the airport leaving, there was somebody every single day coming up and showing appreciation and thank you. And I just want to give back and say thank you guys, because it has been my pleasure to do any part in helping out somebody being the best representative that they could be. And so I can't thank you enough for the love that you showed me. This is completely, strictly out of love. I never pretended to be anybody, but I've always said if it helps that one person, then it was worth it. And I can't tell you how many people have said, I'm that one person. I am that person that it helped. So thank you. I had a wonderful time in Boston. It was a fantastic time. Our branch had an exciting time together, but it was just a complete outcry and a pouring of people coming in to say thank you. Well, you heard Brother Corey a minute ago say that I guess we're going to be exploring another podcast opportunity, and that's exciting. I am all about the education, about assisting those people with the tools and the resources to be a badass representative, to be the person that has the confidence to investigate a grievance, to write and prepare a grievance, to be able to have a discussion and present their grievance to management with that confidence that they know what they're talking about. They have supported their position. And so if we're going to be exploring another opportunity to be able to do that, I will always be a part of that. So that's exciting news that I just found out today. So I look forward to more information about that and upcoming opportunity to be able to get back in the educational part. And so I hope everybody looks forward to that as well. Well, people, excuse me for kind of taking a minute to leave. When I come out to do these episodes, it's already a little bit nerve-wracking to try to present material, but with distractions, I've always asked if he could at least give me the privacy here in the studio to be able to do so. Today, he has went to go run some errands, and so now I'm going to take this opportunity, while I have it, to be able to discuss a very serious and important matter to me. I'm not here today to discuss 6-day mail count and route inspections. I'm actually here to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that's my brother Corey Walton. Because I have not had a good night's sleep since this past Wednesday, just thinking about doing something that has been tremendously long overdue. Corey is probably going to kill me for this. He is probably going to be pissed off about this, but I don't care because I'm going to download it. But he's going to kill me for telling you that the postal inspectors are pressuring him due to this podcast. They started investigating him last Wednesday, questioning him about this podcast. And as he's talking to me about this, he's still on the phone with a newspaper talking about the working conditions that letter carriers are subjected to on a daily basis. And now, I've never seen anything like my brother. I've watched him in Boston time and time again tirelessly greet people. Like I told y'all, from the moment we got to the airport, to the hotel lobby, to the registration desk, to the meet and greet that was insane. I saw people after people after people come up to my brother to thank him, and he spent time to greet them and encourage them and show his appreciation to them. I saw people take him to the side where he would speak to them for 10, 15 minutes, holding their hands, discussing their issues. Sometimes they were even crying. But he never, ever not did and take part in the moment to share with that brother or sister. If any of you were there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If any of y'all saw time and time again, I saw people waiting to be able to show their gratitude, to show their appreciation back to my brother. But in all of that, he constantly refuses, on this podcast or any other platform, he refuses to take any credit for anything. I can't tell you how many times as I was standing there at the meet and greet or in the hotel lobby or in the General Assembly, he would be greeting people. And as I'm standing there, he always, even though I wasn't sticking my hand up, he would always say, "Have you met JB? Here's JB." And people would constantly tell me thank you and how much they appreciated and took pictures. It was insane, the amount of people that I saw, but the recognition that he always took the opportunity to make sure I got involved. I even saw him take our brother Cole Billups and bring him in to introduce everybody, to put a face with a name. After all the things that Cole has been able to do for this podcast and help Brother Walton, he always constantly makes sure that all those around him have been recognized. No matter how you think about it, no matter how you feel about it, my brother has started a revolution. He has started a movement in this city letter carrier craft and refuses to take anything or accept anything for his efforts. He's done 177 episodes, and all of these episodes on his dime, his time. He has forced both sides to take notice to an entire craft. Other podcasts have even been started because of this movement, and more are coming. Every single week, Brother Walton takes on the establishments. Every single week, he calls into question those that are not either representing us or those taking negative actions towards our brothers and sisters. He's taken on postal service. He's taken on the NALC, and now he's taken on the federal government. But for what? My brother has 32 years of service in. 32 years of service. He delivers his route every week, and that's all he has to do. That's all he could be doing, is just delivering his route while he's cruising to retirement. But this dude, my dude, legitimately loves us. You've seen how much he loves us. He has shown you how much he loves us. It couldn't have been more clear, more evident. If you were at Boston, you saw it. How much he appreciated the individuals that poured out to meet him, to greet him, just to say thank you for whatever he helped them overcome in their time. Week after week, Corey Walton has been our voice. Corey has been our voice to our voiceless. He has been the individual to be on the forefront of speaking for us. He has always been the first one to put his foot down on the battleground and will continue to be the last one to pick up his foot afterwards. You know, he's been our William Wallace. He's been that individual to fight and encourage. He's been that Buster Douglas to do the unthinkable. Over the past 3 years, the amount of influence and people and help and assistance that's been given by this one person dedicating his time to us. He's been our captain, my brother, who is always, from day one that I met him, gave me his phone number and said, call me anytime. And I asked him, did he mean it? And he said, absolutely. And he has not let me down one time. I have wanted to do something for a very long time. I have really thought about what I could do to give back. But I just didn't know how. I did not know when. But after this past Wednesday, people, I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep knowing that he's been investigated. I cannot stand to sit by any longer and say I have not done anything when he's done everything for me. There has been others in my time, but he has been the one person, the most influential person, the one person that's always... I can't tell you how many times I have called my brother to ask him a question about a case. I can't tell you how many arbitrations that we've been a part of where he's personally helped me get ready to prepare. Arbitrations that were assigned to me, how to construct my closing arguments, getting everything prepared so I could be the best because he wanted me to be the best. He gave me everything when he didn't have to. If anybody out there has ever, in the past 3 years, spent any amount of time standing with my brother, his phone is constantly buzzing. It is constantly going off from getting questions from people, and he's there to try to answer every single one. He has done his part in doing everything he could to make us the badass letter carrier craft that we could be. And he still spends the one day off a week that he has, the one day he could be resting and relaxing, he still spends every Sunday trying to help us because of his passion that he has, not only for myself, not only for his branch, his passion he has for the city letter carrier. That's all he cares about. That's all he cares about, his passion for the men and women in blue, to give us everything in hopes of motivating us, in hopes of inspiring us to be the best that we can, inspiring us to be the best representative for our city letter carrier craft that we can be. It's been almost 3 years now. It's been almost 3 years. And my man, my dude, Corey Walton, has been our voice. He's been our Monday. He's been that Monday morning everybody looks forward to, hearing what new developments are taking place, inspiring us to be the best that we can be, educating us on the topics that are important, that are relevant at that current time. He has been that voice for us because he has had our back. He's been there for thousands of us, and I saw it firsthand in Boston. I saw numerous people, time and time again, all day long, come up to him to thank him for what he's done. And now I'm asking you, I am asking you to stand up, to mount up with me, to do something back. It is now our turn to return the favor to my brother. I have went and contacted all of his social media people because I have told y'all I do not have any social media, but I've contacted his. So when I'm done, I'm going to edit this and I'm going to download this episode to every single one of his social media sites. Will get the same exact GoFundMe that I have created. He will not know until it's too late. So I'm asking you this. I am challenging you right now to be with me, to do this for our brother. Because if he's ever helped you in any way, I want you to give. If he's ever inspired you in any way, I want you to give. If he's ever lifted you up, if he's ever gotten you back in the fight when you had lost that passion, when you had lost that fire, I want you to give. I want to be encouraged to know that we have done something. I want you, if you've ever been lifted up, encouraged in a way that you felt that there was no more hope, I want you to give. I know Corey Walton has told us time and time again, he is not doing this for the money. I know he'll never want to take the money, but we are overriding that shit today. We are going to give back starting today. I want him to see an outcry from everybody out there how much they appreciate what has taken place. I want you to get behind me, and I want this money to be absurd. I want him to get that fuck you money. I want everyone to see it. I want it to be, like I said, absurd. I want it to be so much that it pisses off both sides. Because he would never take it, but I want to get it to him. I want to give back and do something that has been long overdue in my heart for the amount of love and help and compassion that he has shown me through my rise as a union representative. My brothers, my sisters, this might be by far the easiest episode I could ever done. Because after Wednesday, after knowing that he was being investigated, I knew I could no longer sit back. I knew I could no longer just sit there and not do anything. I had to act. And this is the only thing I thought that I could come up with. Because after so many things that he has done for us, after so much that he has given us, week after week after week, Brother Walton has stood in the eye of a Category 5 storm. For who? For us. And today, we're going to show Corey that we have his back. I want you to share this GoFundMe. I need you to share it to all the social media sites. I don't know how to do it because I don't have any, but I know you do. So I need you to share it to his page, to others. I want to give back today. So again, if he's ever motivated you, give, share the GoFundMe. If he has ever inspired you, lifted you up, got you back in the fight after you have quit and lost hope, but now you have found that fire, that passion again that once burned and now is ignited, I want you to give. Please share the GoFundMe and keep sharing it. I'm going to put in the first $100. The first $100, I want everyone to give. I want this to tell everyone that we will not be silenced. And this is our thank you. Our thank you back to our voice for the voiceless. Our thank you back to the individual standing on the forefront of every fight. Our thank you back to Corey Walton for the things that he has done for the city letter carrier craft, for the establishments that he is taking on from the NALC, from the Postal Service, and now having to deal with the federal government. A thank you and a retainer for 7 more years, hopefully. I'm sorry I didn't have route count and inspection information today, but it's coming. But again, I could not sit and idle anymore. I have thought and thought. I haven't been able to think about anything else. But this is my opportunity and our opportunity to do something monumental. I challenge everybody to give. I challenge everybody to share the GoFundMe. I couldn't be more proud of my brother, Corey Walton, and I cannot thank him for each and everything that he has done for me. He has by far been that one true brother that has done so many things for me without ever requiring a thank you for it. I want to tell everybody that I saw in Boston, I love each and every one of you. I had a tremendous time in Boston. It was fantastic. I can't thank you enough for listening in today. And I can't wait for another opportunity to be able to come on and educate, and I will. But today is about giving back to my brother Corey Walton. I love each and every one of you. I know he loves each and every one of you. He's probably going to be extremely pissed off at me, but I do not care. And this is my one moment to give back, and that's what I'm doing. Until the next time, I love each and every one of y'all. Talk to y'all soon.